Jackson defeated viewers each week. Now since day one, one of the best yet.
Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. Boy, I'm tired. Jeez, Raw kicked my ass. May the 13th, 2023. More long tournament matches and not much else. Long tournament matches, not much else. So, once more, we got to go through the tournament. And then we'll try to find out what other garbage Triple H decided to throw at us this week. So, let's get into let's start with the Queen of the Ring. Let's start with the women. Alright? Io Sky defeated Shayna Baszler in their second round matchup. Shayna Baszler attacked Io Sky because Io and Damage Control had, ruffled the feathers of Shayna Baszler in the parking lot earlier. That led to Shayna Baszler jumping her during her entrance. Io is just a phenomenal talent. I mean, just incredibly athletic, charismatic without, you being able to understand what she's saying. Just really great talent. Shayna Baszler, maybe 15 years ago, but she's like a potato out there sometimes, man. It's sad because Shayna Baszler has, a lot of grappling talent. I just think she got into pro wrestling late. She got into pro wrestling late in life. Triple H loves Shayna Baszler for just, I don't know why. But Shayna Baszler isn't quite Natalya. But clearly she is better off as a trainer and not as an in-ring talent. You could definitely have put somebody else in this situation. I guess you just want them to beat Io Sky. But this is a very weird situation where these people are both heels. Io is a heel. Baszler is a heel. Why are heels wrestling each other? This will become a really big problem in the main event. Because, we'll talk about it when we get there. But you basically made the audience choose Io Sky as a babyface by putting her in a match with Shayna Baszler and then having Baszler attack her early in the match. But you also want Damage Control to be the top heel faction for the women on Raw. Does that make sense? Is that congruent? No, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It's all dumb. It's a good match. Dumb. Lyra Valkyria says she wants to make send a message. Says that she's here to stay and she's always going to be the backup for Becky Lynch. Liv Morgan was out there. Asked her if Becky had always been such a bitch. She said, well, ask her yourself. And Becky Lynch was right there and slapped Liv Morgan in the face. And said she's not running from a face-to-face. I was like, oh, okay. This leads us to the next Women's Queen of the Ring tournament match. Lyra Valkyria defeated Zoe Stark. This was more a traditional match. Probably more up the alley of Zoe Stark. The crowd, of course, didn't care because nobody cares about Zoe Stark, and you can pay them to care about Zoe Stark. This is just Triple H fumbling the bag. Just you put somebody in the ring, you give them a long match, and nobody cares. She's not. What has Triple H been doing for 30 years? He's been in WWE since 1995. How do you be under the learning tree for almost 30 years and you still produce this kind of crap? It's not even that the match was terrible. It wasn't. It's that nobody knows who Lyra Valkyria is. There's no character to her. She just comes out there and she's smiley and that's it. There's no character to Zoe Stark. Nobody cares about who she is. She was just rubbing elbows with Trish Stratus last year. And now she gets less than crickets. I can hear a toilet flushing in the arena when she comes out. I can hear somebody, I can hear people typing and sending text messages through the arena. There's echoes of that stuff. Nobody cares about Zoe Stark. But Triple H refuses, absolutely refuses to give up on Zoe Stark. Lyra Valkyria wins with the Nightwing, which is literally the same move that Santos Escobar uses as his finish. I wonder if anybody's going to even notice that, or will it not matter? That wouldn't be the end of what we would see from Lyra Valkyria tonight, as she would come out to help Becky Lynch after Becky Lynch defeats Dakota Kai by disqualification after Damage Control jumped them. Because, again, Damage Control are heels, but Io Sky was the babyface earlier in the night. I mean, I don't know how he's getting away with this stuff. Becky Lynch fighting Dakota Kai, I don't know. I know there's a lot of conversation floating around when it comes to Becky Lynch and that damn contract of hers. I don't think that anybody who's too concerned about her not signing it, don't worry about it. I wouldn't concern myself about it. I'm pretty sure they just, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. I don't see any reason why she would leave. But wouldn't that be interesting if she actually took her ball and went home? The incredibly shrinking Becky Lynch. She's got whatever parasite infected Adam Cole and made him gaunt and skinny. Becky Lynch has got it too. They probably should look into that. Might be something in the water. But this Queen in the Ring thing is coming down to Lyra Valkyria versus Io Sky in the next match, which is the Raw final, which is fine. It ought to be a really good match. I think they've wrestled before. I'm not sure if they wrestled on NXT or not when Io maybe popped in for a spell. But it's a good match. It should have a traditional babyface and a traditional heel. But that would have required Io to get some heat in her match and people to want to see Io lose. Or people to care about Lyra Valkyria and want to see her win. Neither of those things occurred. So it's just going to be good match for the sake of good match. And I fully expect Io to win the match. Likely with some Damage Control interference, because that's what they're setting up now. So that ought to be just fine. That'll work out just great. Big old thumbs up, guys. Next, King of the Ring stuff. Kofi Kingston defeated Rey Mysterio at the house show and will now be facing Gunther, who won his match last week over Sheamus in the main event. Kofi Kingston says that this is about payback. He knew what this is all about for Xavier. There's no room for fear, no room for doubt, no room for failure. Xavier Woods says that Kofi Kingston is one of the greatest champions of all time and the perfect man to defend his honor since he cannot repeat as King of the Ring. Gunther beat Kofi Kingston by submission. So Kofi Kingston tapped out to Gunther. Look, I know a lot of people are, going with this whole, there's no big deal about submitting. It's, people submit in mixed martial arts. There's certain stories you can tell when it comes to submissions. I don't think this is one of them. You had Kofi Kingston out there supposed to be fighting for the honor of his friend who was injured by Gunther and who wanted to be the King of the Ring, who this tournament means so much to them. For him to tap out and submit is really poor storytelling. But then at this point, it doesn't matter because it's Kofi Kingston, right? He's not going any further than he is right now. It doesn't matter. But for future reference, your heroes should not be quitters in any capacity, especially quitting when you're supposed to be like honoring your friend. Like imagine you watch Bloodsport, and Bolo beats the big dude, big hacksaw Jim Duggan looking guy, beats his ass, takes his bandana or whatever, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme fights Bolo and quits. Does that make a good story to you? No. Now, you could have Gunther win this match in 100 different ways that wouldn't kill Kofi Kingston in terms of credibility or kill his story. But they gave him a pretty definitive win by submission because Kofi doesn't matter. So there that goes. After the match, Kofi goes from not mattering against Gunther to being terrorized by Karrion Kross. And I'm like, oh boy, talk about Legend of the Fall-Offs. Jesus Christ. Karrion Kross is still floating around here, huh? Have mercy on me. Have mercy on my soul. Jey Uso and Ilja Dragunov worked the main event. Dragunov talked about being the Mad Dragon. He had beat Gunther the last time the two of them wrestled each other. And Gunther was looming behind him with a smile on his face. Jey Uso welcomed Dragunov to Raw, and then says that Drew McIntyre couldn't cut the mustard. So he got put in his place and said now Ilja Dragunov is going to catch that yeet down. So in the main event, they had one of the most over baby faces in the company, Jey Uso, wrestle an up-and-coming babyface that nobody really knows in Ilja Dragunov. And Dragunov is out there trying his best, and the people do not want Jey Uso to lose. So how does it really benefit your top babyface to wrestle another babyface? How does it benefit your up-and-coming babyface to wrestle the top babyface? It doesn't. So this was dumb. It's poor storytelling. It's just bad storytelling. Whenever your heroes are fighting each other and it doesn't seem to be for good reason, it's you're tearing the audience apart. It's basic wrestling. This guy sat under Vince McMahon for 30 years. It's basic wrestling. Why you have babyface versus babyface, heel versus heel? If Dragunov was not going to win, he should not have been in this tournament. And he wasn't going to win it. And we knew that from the beginning. He got no business being in this tournament. He should have been doing something to get people behind him. You should be telling stories with him, not just, well, we just got to have, if he has matches, people will care about his matches. No. And Jey Uso literally does 3 moves. And so you're going to have all these dorks out here. All the dorks who see Dragunov take like X amount of punishment. I mean, hella punishment. Dragunov is the kind of guy, boy, you could tear him apart by wild horses and you couldn't beat him. And they're going to look at this and see that he got beat with a Uso splash after 100 super kicks and absolutely flip their televisions. Because they're invested in the Ilja Dragunov character and the toughness of that character. And now he just got beat flat by Jey Uso with no shenanigans whatsoever. They didn't even do Gunther screws Dragunov or Kaiser screws Dragunov or anything like that. They just went in there. Dragunov fought. He fought hard and he lost. And then that was it. So now Jey Uso is going to wrestle Gunther in the final of the Raw side of the King of the Ring. This should have been expected from the beginning. It's fine. Babyface, heel. Jey Uso is likely to lose. He probably should lose. This is Gunther's tournament, I believe. I think that people were intrigued by the idea that maybe they do Gunther and Dragunov. And look, you can even have Dragunov lose, but you can't have him lose like this. You know, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird that you would book Dragunov so strong, and then he loses to an Uso splash like everybody else. And it's not like you could have screwed him, you know? I don't know. So that's the King of the Ring shit. I mean, it is what it is. Who cares, really? You know, this tournament is wearing me out. It's overstaying its welcome. And I think a lot of it has to do with these matches being extremely dry. And Jey Uso being the most over person in any tournament match on this show. Most of these tournament matches feature people that are not over, that the crowd do not care about, and that the crowd are looking for reasons to give a shit about. And the company refuses to give them any reason to give a shit about them. We started the show with Drew McIntyre, who was shit-talking CM Punk, who said CM Punk wasn't going to be there because he only makes the big towns. Then he said that CM Punk's one of his greatest achievements is looking like a drug addict without ever taking drugs. Then he says that why do people take CM Punk back every time, knowing that he'll break their heart? CM Punk fans are stupid. He then says that CM Punk has been running from him, trying to free himself from him. He says eventually he's going to catch him, and you're going to bear me to tear your pec, which I thought was funny. Then he talked about Jay losing another match, losing more opportunities. Jay being the guy who has to take his spot. He's got a problem with that, which seems to be set up for him to interfere in Jay's match later, and that didn't occur. So, I mean, they planted a seed but didn't water it and didn't give it any sunlight. So there you go. Then he talked about Damian Priest being a paper champion. Damian Priest then came out there and said, "Say it to my face." Then he told Drew McIntyre that all of this was his fault because he tried to cash in the Money in the Bank on Seth Rollins and Drew kept stopping him. Then Drew made the suggestion that he just waits for Drew to be the champion to cash in the Money in the Bank. And so he did. So he proves that Drew is stupid and creates his own problems. Then he says that if you have a problem with what's going on, look in the mirror and blame that asshole. I was like, Then he says that CM Punk has become more important than Drew McIntyre's wife. He's obsessed and that he's going to give him a shot once he's cleared, and he's going to make him eat his words about being a paper champion. This is going nowhere fast. This could have been fun, or could have been fine, rather. But Drew still can't wrestle. So, what's the point? And then, you don't build up anybody for Damian Priest to wrestle. Because Drew can't wrestle because he's injured. Instead of putting Damian Priest in there with somebody he could actually wrestle sometime soon, you put him in there with Drew McIntyre for him to trash Drew, make Drew look dumb. And then also, it's heel versus heel because Damian Priest is still a heel, at least for right now. He's still a heel. I mean, this is a huge problem. This is a huge problem. Damian Priest then, kind of, after babyfacing a little bit on Drew McIntyre, he's going to babyface a little bit more when it comes to Carlito. He don't want Carlito there. He no Carlito. No mas. Carlito wants to hang around because it's Dominic's idea, and Carlito says, you know, Rhea is injured, Dominic's injured, you guys could use a little bit of help. And Damian Priest is like, not really. I don't want you around. Those guys can work with you if they want to. I don't want nothing to do with it. You know, you look weird without a mustache, Carlito. You know, it's like, you know, he does look weird without a mustache. And Dominic looks weird with a mustache. I don't know what they got going on. Maybe that seems like something they collaborated on. In any event, Dominic is going to welcome Carlito in, and Damian Priest is going to leave it to the rest of the guys. Now this dovetails into the story about the tag team championships. Adam Pearce, because Triple H is extremely lazy, created a fatal four-way match where the number one contenders for the tag team titles was going to be decided. And this match featured AOP, New Catch Republic, the Creed Brothers, and the winners, the Judgment Day, JD McDonough and Finn Balor. And they win because Carlito attacks Pete Dunne, gives him a backstabber, and that leads to the coup de grace from Finn Balor. And so Carlito wins. Judgment Day wins with a little help from Carlito. Afterwards, the Judgment Day are very excited about Carlito's assistance, only for Damian Priest to say, look, you still got to handle your Rey Mysterio problem, because we don't run with cowards. And Carlito's like, I'm not scared of Rey. I got this. I'm going to handle this. Rey has not made an appearance on this show since he's been drafted to Raw. There has been very little mention of the LWO at all. It's very bizarre. But it seems they're going to try to ingratiate Carlito, only for Carlito to turn on them later on or something. That seems to be the goal here. They've been doing this whole, I don't know, Judgment Day is so stuck in the mud. I don't care, They're just so stuck in the mud. They've been stuck in the mud for so long, even before Rhea got injured, even before Dominic got injured. The heyday of the Judgment Day was when Dominic was the North American champion on NXT. That was when Judgment Day was at its most important. Now they have the literal world champion and their sideshow tag team guys. Poor Finn Balor went from being a top guy to basically being JD McDonough's, partner, which sucks. And is the only reason they even doing this stuff is because they're from the same country and they trained each other. And it's a similar thing with Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. Oh, we're all Irish. And I used to be my trainer. You're my mentor. Blow it out of your ass. AOP, how many times could they possibly lose? The Creed brothers, what's the problem? If you don't think they're good enough, send them back to NXT. What is the problem? What are you doing with these guys? How do you have such massive dudes like AOP and you do nothing with them? You shit on them every week. You got such natural talents as the Creed brothers. You shit on them every week. Why do we have so many of these fatal four-ways? By the by. How many fatal four-ways have there been? There's been at least 6 in the last 2 months. Fatal four-ways for various different number 1 contenderships. And almost always ends the same way with the people nobody wants to see winning. None of these teams are over because you don't put any effort into any of these teams and nobody knows who these people are. For God's sake. But they're going to get that tag team championship match at Saudi, which is exactly what I said they were going to do, right? They were going to squeeze another tag team title match on there. Oh, brother. Whatever. This show could be so much better. They insist on it sucking. Chad Gable backstage, he actually berates Maxine Dupree for dropping the ball on the Queen of the Ring tournament because she ended up taking Zelina Vega's spot because Zelina Vega got hurt. Because everybody is getting hurt, unless this is just bullshit, and they're just pulling people because they decided you're gonna do something else. We're just gonna pull you from the show and say you're injured. So I can't believe all these people got injured at the same time. Is it like a flu bug going around or something? They got COVID again. That's really what happened. Like people got COVID, they just disappear and get replaced or whatever. So Chad Gable dissed Maxine Dupree. He also says he got matches for Otis and Akira Tozawa, and he's looking for greatness out of them to go get them some wins. He decided that Akira Tozawa was going to wrestle Sami Zayn, but then he changed his mind and said he wanted Akira Tozawa to fight Bronson Reed. And he wants Otis to fight Sami Zayn. He wants serious Otis. He wants mean Otis because he wants Otis to work on Sami Zayn for the match at Saudi Arabia for the Intercontinental Championship. He threatens Akira Tozawa, like, if you dance, I swear to God. So Akira Tozawa comes out there to wrestle Bronson Reed. His hair is not colored. So he's got his natural hair color. And he loses in like 34 seconds, which is the right thing to do. Triple H actually did something correct in having Akira Tozawa get squashed. Then he has Otis lose to Sami Zayn, but it's only because Otis did not listen to Chad Gable. He did the worm, which is what Chad Gable told him not to do. He was also, bubbling up to dance, which is what Chad Gable told him not to do. And he ended up losing to the haluva kick. Chad Gable got so mad that he shoved Otis. Then Sami Zayn, who had left the ring, came back, beat up Chad Gable a little bit. Then he fled. Then Otis and Chad Gable had a moment outside the ring where Chad Gable slapped Otis for embarrassing him. And this is tough. This is tough. Because now they've set the match for next week. It is going to be Chad Gable versus Sami Zayn. But that match is not for the Intercontinental Championship. Again, follow me. This entire story has been about Sami Zayn and Chad Gable in the Intercontinental Championship. Now they're going to have a singles match next week on TV. That is not going to be the title match. It's a match for no reason. Literally no reason. Because the championship match that they actually booked is going to be a triple threat match. And come on, man. Be real about this shit, man. This is terrible. This is awful stuff. What are you doing? What are you doing? I thought that we were supposed to be going somewhere with this Chad Gable thing. It's not going anywhere. Chad Gable did approach Ivy Nile and said that she had potential, but then he also called Maxine Dupree Taylor not so swift, which I thought was at least humorous. That was at least humorous. So he's trying to recruit Ivy Nile and probably going to try to recruit the Creed brothers. But he could have just fired these fucking guys. Like, why not just do an in-ring segment where Chad Gable just kicks everybody out? You know, everybody's got to go. And he throws them all out. And then maybe he starts recruiting the next week or something like that. And he recruits Ivy and the Creeds. Maybe. You know, I don't know. They seem to be dragging this thing out. I don't care. It's hard for me to care. I don't give a damn. Braun Strowman is talking to the Creed brothers, talking to Ivy Nile, letting them know how great they are and how great they're doing. But he got warned by J.D. McDonough because Damian Priest told J.D. McDonough last week that he had to handle Braun Strowman. So this is his version of handling Braun Strowman, is that he warned him. Get out of here. Okay? I'm guessing this is where they're going with the world title, is they're going to go Braun Strowman, Damian Priest, which could be fun if Braun can wrestle. It could also be fun if Braun Strowman did stuff with Damian Priest. I don't know how long is this thing going to take. Is Braun Strowman actually wrestling? I don't know. He's walking around with a cowboy hat on, so they're trying to remake Hillbilly Brock with Braun Strowman. Not sure that's going to take as well as the original did, but they're very welcome to try. Very, very welcome to try. A random appearance by Lillian Garcia. So she did one of the announcements for Kofi Kingston and Gunther. She put over Samantha Irvin a little bit as being, you know, great. I know that really ruffles some feathers. Samantha Irvin has been getting put over, and that has made her a target by some of the anti-smart crowd who now, you know, they feel like they have to go after Samantha Irvin. Look, I don't think you should just go after Samantha just because. They want her to be more involved in the show. That's what they want now. That seems to be the new impetus. I don't know if it's like another Aubrey Edwards kind of situation, but Jim Cornette put her over. That led to a lot of, you know, a melee online as, you know, Jim Cornette put over somebody. So it must be the worst thing of all time. And then she actually, you know, thanked him for putting her over. And that made her, you know, the worst ever. That this, you know, mixed race chick who got put over by, you know, noted racist Jim Cornette. But as far as Samantha Irvin, she's doing the yeet dance with Jey Uso on camera, and she's getting a little cute with the entrances, and that's rubbing people the wrong way. To me, again, I do prefer the Howard Finkel separate, more professional ring introductions, but I'm okay with her adding a little spice to the ring introductions. I had a problem with her voice cracking and breaking and that kind of stuff during the Cody announcement and the Money in the Bank announcement, where she was, you know, all panicky and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But her being involved with the show in terms of doing the dances and stuff like that, I don't really care about that. She's not really on camera. You know, all that stuff is beamed straight to social media. I don't care about that. If she was an on-screen character, you know, or something like that, then maybe I would care more. But if it's just stuff she does for social media and just WWE wanting you to, you know, be more involved with her and what she's doing and her reactions to things, because people do enjoy looking at her reactions, that's fine. One of the Vince McMahon rules is that you got to have fun making fun. And Samantha has fun doing her job, and some people enjoy watching her have fun. As long as she don't screw up anything, I'm okay with it. You know, so she can yeet dance. You know, she's not as annoying as Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee is fucking annoying, bro. Like, he's terrible. He used to be really good because he used to be funny, but now he's like that barking stuff he was doing on this show. Oh my God. I wanted to choke him through the TV. I'm like, please stop cutting off Michael Cole barking. Please stop doing that. If he's going to make that a thing, especially during Brian Breaker matches, it's going to be so much. It's going to be so confusing and so screwed up. Speaking of which, Adam Pearce offered a bullshit excuse for why Brian Breaker is not in the King of the Ring tournament. He didn't want to throw him into the deep end with all the top talent who earned it. Because Dragunov earned it, despite the fact that he's got fewer matches on Monday Night Raw than Brian Breaker does. Brian Breaker ended up responding by saying that, you know, I wouldn't have been locked in the deep end with them. They'd have been locked in the deep end with me. Which is fine. Did you know that the Steiner brothers are about to have a WWE documentary and Rick apparently is not going to be in it? Oh, yes. Yes, I saw the commercial. And it was only Scott. I did not see Rick at all. Are they really going to do a Steiner brothers documentary with no Rick Steiner? I'm very interested in seeing how they manage to do that. I'm very interested in seeing how they're going to manage to do that. But it's not good. It ain't good. It ain't good. It ain't good. It ain't good. Raw ain't good either. This show sucks. It's just matches. It's so tiring. Ugh. Do something to jazz some things up. Sami Zayn is super fucking boring as the Intercontinental Champion. He's in a 3-way feud, but I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him wrestle Bronson Reed. I don't care about Bronson Reed, for God's sake. Everything that might have been interesting has slowed down to a goddamn halt. Chad Gable turning heel. He seemingly has. He's not gaining more heat. You know, they're kind of blowing the heat off. You know, actually, by having weeks and weeks of doing nothing. You know, so they're not really helping the matter. But I don't know, man. They still got these draft things to figure out. There's so many guys floating around, so many talents, and they have no direction. Like, what do you do with Dragunov now that he lost in this tournament? Now what do you do? You teased him wrestling Gunther. You had him look directly into the camera and tell people he beat Gunther. And he went out there and lost to Jey Uso. So now what? You know, like what now? What was your plan B? What's your plan with Drew McIntyre if he can't wrestle? Why is he standing flat-footed with Damian Priest? Why is Damian Priest doesn't have a feud? The tag team championship is no feud at all. When was the last time there was a tag team feud? I don't know. It sucks. And thank God NXT is tomorrow. You know, praise God NXT is tomorrow. You could talk shit about NXT all day, but at the very least, things are making some sense. And the show is at least fun. So, it's wacky. The characters are loud and proud. Everybody on Raw has no character. The characters are turned all the way down. With the exception of Jey Uso, whose character is turned all the way up. Most everybody else, character is turned all the way down. They're incredibly boring. Incredibly bland. And it makes a bland and boring product. Very few people on the show is actually worth watching for more than 3 or 4 minutes. And they insist on putting them out there twice as long as they should be. Alright. Like, share, subscribe. Talk to you guys later. Peace.